All right, good morning, and thank you all for joining us for this week's press conference. We'll be opening up with a statement from Coach Shaw before proceeding to the Q&A portion this week. As a reminder, please leave your lines muted until called upon to ask a question. And if you would like to ask a question, please use the raise hand function. We'll now open up with a statement from Coach Shaw.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First, on the injury front, the good news on the probable side, it looks like Ben Urasek and Noah Williams have a chance to be back, at least a good chance to be back this week. Same with Isaiah Sanders. Didn't finish last game, but it's looking up for him. Looks like he may be able to be back. In the questionable category, you'd say Austin Jones and Casey Filkins. Ricky Niazon got a little banged up in the game. He'll probably be a late week decision also. Those three guys have a chance, but a little sketchy right now. Doubtful. Zarin Manley's progressed a lot, unless something drastic happens by the end of the week. Doesn't look like he'll be able to go, but at least he's back, at least moving around, and it may be a late week decision, but I'd still put him in the doubtful category. Probably another week for him. Out this week will be Ethan will still be out. Ethan Bonner, EJ Smith will still be out, and now Branson Bragg will be out as well. So one guy out that we were counting on, but then three guys for sure coming back, and three more guys potentially by the end of the week. So balance is all pretty good, but we hate to lose Branson. Looks like it might be only be a week, but we'll see how that progresses. As for the game, said it pretty much after the game. You can't spot a good team 14 points. We started very slowly. People put it on Tanner. It wasn't on Tanner. It was pretty much on everybody on offense that first series where we didn't do anything, and then terrible mishaps on our first punt, which led us to being down 7-0. Showed resilience. Showed tremendous playmaking ability. We're getting towards that mid-season point, and starting to have a really good idea of what we do well and what we don't. Hopefully we'll do more positive things the rest of the year. But like some of the places that we're trending, Tanner's continuing to grow. Our combination of receivers and tight ends, and when we're healthy running backs, I'll put up against anybody in America. Got to get some guys back, got to get them back in the groove, but got a chance to be really special there. Still goes down to execution though. We can't have big lulls when in our offense where we don't move the ball, where we make mistakes, where we have penalties and give up field position. Defensively, some great efforts out there. Thomas Booker, of course, Caillou Kelly. These guys are playing really well. Some of the guys are playing really well against good teams, especially good teams that will run the ball consistently. We don't get guys down, and we make a couple mistakes. You have a 200-yard rusher. So another group coming in this week that we know for sure is going to run the ball and force you to stop the run and take advantage of what you do in the passing game. So we got to get better there. Same thing offensively. When we stay out of our own way and go and execute, we score 40 points plus. When we don't do that, then we don't. And I'll address something else. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I haven't. I know it's some of the scuttlebutt here. First couple weeks, got a lot of pats in the back and surprises that I went for it on fourth down in positive territory over the league. Fourth down twice inside the 5-yard line. Those make a lot of sense. Now there's a big hubbub that I did not go for it in the middle of the field twice. This is just for people's edification and education. I do not subscribe to what a lot of the analytics say, which is fine. People can. I subscribe to my 15 years as a play caller, both as the offense coordinator and head coach, and just so people can realize what happened on those those 2 times. We did not go for it. We're down by 14, did not go for it. We had already lost. We'd already gotten stuffed on 3rd and 1. We lost Isaiah Sanders, which we have a nice package for. So we punted. We played great defense. We stopped them. We got the ball back with great field position, and we threw a touchdown pass to Elijah Higgins. So for those people that didn't like it, guess what? It worked. We played field position. We played great defense. We got the ball back and we scored a touchdown. The other time, once again, we've got an outstanding field goal kicker that's just starting his career. And we are in field goal range with more than a 4th and 1, down by 7 with less than 10 minutes to go. I said this in the post-game press conference, and maybe people didn't hear it. As poorly as we started the game, being down 14, and we're only down 7 with a chance to make it a 4-point game with 9 minutes to go, I'm going to kick the field goal. Now, you make that 4th and inches. You give me Isaiah Sanders back, and we got a nice little package. Okay, maybe we do go for it, depending on how the flow of the game is going. But after all we scrapped to fight and get back on, I was not going to potentially give UCLA the ball back with a 7-point lead and momentum in good field position. Just wasn't going to do that. Felt great about our field goal kicker. He went out there, made the field goal. We're down by 4 with a kickoff that we know is going to be a touchback, and we're going to be down by 4 with 9 minutes to go. And that's I thought where we had fought back to. And if we could get a stop, then we got the momentum and we go take the lead. So that's where we were. Not justifying anything, just explaining it. People can like it, dislike it, that's fine. We got a pretty good track record of what we do and how we do it around here. So that's that. Open up for questions.
If you would like to ask a question, please use the raise hand function. We will open up with a question from Steve Croner of SF Chronicle.
Hey, David, I think it's fair to say that in the 2010s, the 2 best programs in the Pac-12 were Stanford and Oregon. What do you think distinguished that rivalry in the 2010s, and what will that rivalry turn into on Saturday?
Well, that rivalry was great, and I believe it's still here. They've won 2 in a row against us. I believe we won the 3 previous, and I think they won 2 in a row before that. And I think it was back and forth. I looked at it the other day. A lot of really good football players, right? And that, to me, and people say a lot about the coaches, and that's great. That's nice to get some pats on the back, but it's really about having great players. And there are great players on both sides. You've got Andrew Luck, you've got a Marcus Mariota, you've got a Christian McCaffrey. They've had multiple great defensive players. We've had some great defensive players in Solomon Thomas. And so a lot of exciting football went back and forth. And the fact that for a while, whoever won that game won the Pac-12 championship. We missed an opportunity last year. They outplayed us. Would have been nice to see how it went if we had Davis Mills. But at the same time, they earned a victory. This year we've played like we wanted to play 2 out of 4 games. And hopefully we can play our best game of the year this Saturday, because it's going to take that. They've got an outstanding group of athletes all around. They've got a really good scheme that puts those guys in position to make plays offensively and defensively. They've got an athletic quarterback that we know is quarterback's legs. Sometimes we've done great against those, sometimes we haven't. So that's another added factor for this week. So I think the rivalry is alive. There's a lot of really good football players on both sides, and it should be an exciting game.
Well, I would have Daniel Shengping Wu. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hi, Coach. Had a few guys miss time so far this season. A few guys coming back this week. Is the program going to report when players are unavailable due to the COVID-19 protocol, as it did last year with Davis for Oregon? And we saw that affected his preparation before his first game back. Or has there been a change there?
I'm not going to. My boss can decide to do whatever he wants with that information. I know our athletic department, I know they do report things like that. I don't know how that's released, whether that's just to the administration, and I don't know what the administration is going to do with that information. That's not coming from my desk. So I'll let whoever is going to make those calls.
Next, we'll go to Troy Clarity.
Similarities and differences from UCLA's scheme to Oregon's offensive scheme, and some lessons that you might be able to apply that you hope to have learned last week to this week.
On the outside, they may look a little similar, but very, very different. Very different run schemes. There's a philosophy running the football. Both very specific with how they attack you and their counters of how they attack you, right? Get you one way, get you going back the other way. So I wouldn't say they're very similar. I think they're both unique. I think both play callers are kind of the inventors of their system. So they're really kind of in their own category, and they present some different issues for us.
And without Bragg, I'd imagine that means Hornibrook stepping in.
Yes, Jake Hornibrook was started at right guard.
Next, we'll go to Dave Kiefer. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, hi, Coach. It's now that you're beginning division play, I mean, it's like you still have, the ability to control your own destiny and get to the Pac-12 championship game, as discouraging as the loss to UCLA was. Is that how you guys approach it? Just, we still can achieve everything that we want to achieve at this point?
Yeah, I think our guys know that's out there. The bottom line is really focusing on this week and playing our best football to give ourselves a chance. There's a high likelihood that the Pac-12 champion, much like most of the Power 5 conferences apparently right now, will have a one-loss champion, potentially a two-loss champion. There's a lot of parity around college football, and there's some big-time parity in our conference. So you have to come to play every single week. You can't get too down if you lose a game, because there's a good chance, because that's what history has told us pretty much every year, almost the last decade, except for maybe 1 year, that our schedules are really, really tough. And you can lose a game, you can lose two sometimes, and still be able to be a Pac-12 champion.
We'll go back to Daniel.
Coach, how do you prepare a young quarterback to face a pretty tough D-line and a defense that's generating a lot of takeaways? Anything you're emphasizing in particular with Tanner this week?
Yeah, I think he's done such a great job. He's grown so much really since week one. Just staying in rhythm, seeing things clean, getting the ball out of your hands on time. He's got a very quick release. He's a quick decision maker, so we don't have to overdo it there. But just to recognize that, you cannot hold the ball back there. Don't want him to rush. We want him to stay in rhythm. We've got playmakers outside. So the idea is go through your progressions, get the ball out of your hands, get the ball to a playmaker. Because these guys are formidable up front. Kayvon gets all the credit, but it's not just him. There are a lot of really good football players in that front seven. So we got to do the best job we can up front with our offensive line and backs and tight ends periodically to allow the quarterback to get the ball out of his hands on time. But it's also, he's got to stay in rhythm. He's got to have that time clock in his head.
Next, we'll go to Ben Parker.
Yeah, Coach, I noticed that on Saturday you guys had certain defensive plays where you had, Caillou blitz, you had Miezon blitz, you had kind of guys on the outside coming in. How much of that should we expect to see from you guys? And can you talk a little about kind of when you kind of decide to maybe bring some of those guys in for blitz?
Well, first of all, I will not tell you what we plan on doing this week. Second of all, especially with the way Chip goes after us and what they were doing, the combination of run schemes, the counters, the powers, the pullers, trying to get penetration. As an old adage, that penetration stops the gap schemes, right? So to stand there and play defensive is not the way to go about it. You have to find ways to interrupt the run game. So blitzing corners off the edge, blitzing safeties off the edge, blitzing the linebackers inside or outside, and changing up those looks. is something that we attempted to do. And there's a period during the game where we got some negative plays, we got them backed up, we got them to punt. And offensively, we didn't take as advantage as we wanted to. We knew they were going to score. We knew they were going to move the ball. Still lamenting the first series for us offensively. We don't give it away that first series. Don't give up those first 7 points, and then get that field goal at the end. We had a drop pass would have made the field goal a little bit easier. But that's a big swing, taking 7 away from them and giving 3 to us. It's a different ball game. So, we played them tight, needed to play a little bit better, different spots. But that was part of our package to mix it up in particular against that running game.
We'll go back to Troy.
Oregon defensively with its share of playmakers, but you mentioned Kayvon Thibodeau earlier, and he certainly gets top billing. Looks like he's going to be given the full green light for this week. Your thoughts on what makes Kayvon so particularly dangerous?
Well, first of all, we'd love for Mario to take better care of his players and maybe give him another week to get healthy, make sure he's really healthy next week. But really, it's pretty straightforward with Kayvon. It's a combination of all the things you're looking for in a defensive player. He's got size, he's got length, and he's got explosion. So his get off is very impressive, but he can run around you, or he can go speed to power and walk you back to the quarterback. He can chase you down from the backside. He's hard to reach on the front side. So that's why he's one of the best players in America. And is really special, and it takes a big effort to handle a guy like that.
Yeah, and kind of along those lines, you did mention it in your post-game press conference, some struggles that the offensive line had against UCLA. What are the big points of emphasis for them overall coming into this week against the Ducks?
Well, honestly, it's a lot of the same things. It's pre-snap and post-snap movement, stemming and moving and being able to handle those guys as they try to go from one gap to another, either before the snap or after the snap. When we handled that, hey, we ran it well and we threw it well because we protected the quarterback. So that's going to be paramount for our guys up front this week. I think our game plan is going to be pretty straightforward. Sad we're going to miss Branson Bragg, but Jake Hornibrook's been playing all year, played in every single game. We rotated him in. We think of him as a starter. So now he's just going to be able to go in there and start the full game, play the full game at right guard. So, but that's the challenge. The challenge is to know that it's not just Kayvon. It's the rest of those guys. They're pretty good. They're good at what they do. They're physical. They're big. They're athletic. But so are we. We just have to be exact.
We'll go to Dave Kiefer again.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned Thomas Booker a little earlier. Just wondering, what are you seeing from him that, I know you expected big things from him, but what are you seeing that maybe has opened your eyes even more this year from him?
Well, excited for him that his work this summer really paid off. He really worked on his pass rush. He's been close a couple times. Got his first sack this weekend, but he's attracted multiple holding calls throughout the year because he is quicker. He is better with his hands on his pass rush. So that's great to see that part come, because first and second down, he's a great run defender. And now let's see, he can be a legitimate pass rusher as well. I think only helps him on our level and prepares him for the next. But his effort and his consistency, I would say he and Caillou especially, those two guys are playing at a really, really high level.
What did John Platts? John, you're on mute.
Drop and do 10 push-ups. Coach, I think you're uniquely qualified to talk about this one by your experience as well as a coach. Your receivers, it's exciting to see what's going on the outside. We saw Bryce, we saw Elijah. Comments I got this week were, wow, Elijah can really run, which of course you and I knew, but just kind of speak to the development of a receiver in college. We saw Simi Fehoko come on late. Or certainly in his upper class years. I mean, route tree expansion, more time on the field. How do receivers develop in your offense, just sort of generally?
Well, you got to give Bobby Kennedy a lot of credit for working with these guys, and he's very specific with what he wants. I think he's got a great routine in practice too, where like the beginning of practice is really meant to help keep them healthy and keep their legs moving. So he shows them that care and attention to detail. And then it's a lot of route work, release work, because so many of these guys were so good in high school, right? I mean, Elijah was 215 pounds in high school and played some gun run quarterback and just ran over everybody, ran around everybody. But there's a lot of subtlety that needs to be learned, right? Bryson Tremaine played quarterback in high school. So there's a lot of route running that he had to learn over time since he's been here. John Humphreys, had caught 100-something touchdown passes in high school. He's just bigger than everybody. Had to learn about releases and using his hands. Bryce Farrell, 10, 400 meters guy, 10, 500 meters, and just run around and run past everybody. He had to be better with his releases and his routes. So there are a lot of things that have gone into crafting this group over the last couple of years. Simi Fehoko got so much better from 2 years ago to last year. And then really hit his stride the last couple games. It would have been great to see if he got 6 more, how good he could have been, how much he could have done, how much damage he could have done. It would have been awesome to see. A lot of things with receivers, if they come in talented, they have an opportunity right off the bat, but there's a lot that they have to learn, not just in our offense, just in college football, as far as releases, coverage recognition, being great at your routes. But I think we've got a really good group that's maturing at the right time. With a quarterback that's maturing at the right time too. So I only expect this entire group to get better throughout the year.
Next, we'll go to Jackson Moore.
Coach, I would imagine the game plan changes significantly if you have Jones and Filkins. Just how do you balance setting up your game plan while their status is still up in the air?
Yeah, so we've been through this a few times before with different positions. So really, we don't want to count on them being there, but we're prepared for them to be extra if they are there. We're prepared again for Nathaniel Pete to carry the load as much as necessary. Would love to see by the end of the week that we can use a couple of those guys to take some plays off of him without putting those guys in a position either to go out there and play in a big time game against a great team and not be physically prepared. So there is that balance to make sure those guys are ready to go. And then what are they prepared for? Are they prepared for maybe a limited role? Okay, great. That takes some pressure off of Nate Pete. But as of right now, we're counting on leaning on Nate Pete heavily, unless we get some better news later in the week.
We'll go back to Ben Parker.
Yeah, I was going to say Tana Mckee is yet to throw an interception this year, which I'm sure you're obviously must be happy with that. But what about his game kind of allows him to be? So I guess what's kind of accounting for that, and what does he do well that makes him take such good care of the ball and read the defenses like he does?
Well, there are multiple factors. Obviously, he's a quick decision maker. He's got good vision. He finds things, and I'm a firm believer in. So Trent Dilford did this study, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, and it was awesome. And to me, the most important thing to come out of that, he looked at all the big time quarterbacks and the time it takes between when they recognize something or they anticipate it and when the ball gets out of their hands. So the combination of of quick recognition, quick decision, anticipation, and then a quick release. And Tanner's got all those. Sees it, makes a quick decision, the ball comes out quick. That's big. Another part of it really also goes with, of course, the training to know where everybody is and to find your guys. But on top of that, having some guys that you trust. Because how many times in the last 3 games in particular, really even the touchdown pass in the Kansas State game, did Tanner just throw the right ball and let his guys have a chance to go up and get it? So there's also that trust that you build up, and these guys have built up over the summer, from the spring over the summer, to where, hey, if the guy's wide open, hey, it's on Tanner to put him there. But if it's one-on-one, okay, what kind of a ball do I throw John Humphreys? What kind of a ball do I throw Bryson Tremaine? And how far can I lead Bryce Farrell? How far can I lead Elijah Higgins? So those are things that they've worked on, and the trust that they've built from each other. So part of it is Tanner's come in with naturally. part of it is the work that he's done with Coach Pritchard, both on the football and the quarterback specific drills, but then also the trust that he's gained and has with our receiving core and our tight ends to put the ball in places that they can get the ball.
Do you have any final questions for Coach Shaw? Go back to Daniel.
Coach, you said in the preseason that playing this in the second year in a pandemic, players got to do what they can to make sure they're available for the team. Are you satisfied with what the team's doing in terms of COVID-19 precautions and making sure that they are available?
Yes. As we all know, we're in a different county, and Stanford has different standards than a lot of schools around the country. So I think our protocols are really good. Our players and our student athletes, not just in football, our student athletes are, from top to bottom, are doing everything that they can. We are in a pandemic. That's just the bottom line. And I told the guys from the beginning, if somebody does test positive, we're not going to give them a hard time for it. We're not going to make them feel bad for it. It's just a reality of life, right? I mean, there's a positive here at a high school there's a positive at a preschool here, there's a positive at an office someplace. This is just the virus. It mutates and it spreads. So we're going to do the best we can. And just like everybody else in America, we're probably testing more than pretty much anybody in America. And that's the decision that we've made, to try to make sure that our players, our staff, our professors, everyone on campus is as healthy and safe as possible.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, we'll be joined by our player guest shortly in just a moment. We're now joined by linebacker Levani Damuni. We will head straight into our Q&A portion. So if you would like to ask a question, please use the raise hand function. As a reminder, please leave your lines muted until called upon to ask a question. We'll open up with Ben Parker.
Yeah. Hey, Levani. I asked Coach Shaw the same question. Can you just talk about the blitzing aspect of your guys' defensive attack and how effective you feel that is, and what type of weapon you feel like that might be for you guys this year?
Sorry, you said blitzing?
Yeah, I mean, I just noticed that against you said there are moments where you guys brought Caillou in for a blitz, Miezon in for a blitz. You put some pressure on him, and not just like D line, but pressure from outside guys, backers and DBs. Just talk about that aspect of your defense and what type of effect and weapon that might be for you guys this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we know that Coach Anderson, whenever he dials up a blitz, we just fully trust in it, and we got a lot of guys that can make plays. A lot of different guys, whether, like you mentioned, if it's a corner coming off the edge, or Alikati or Jimmy, or one of the inside backers. Yeah, we've been trying to just mix it up and do different things to get home on that QB, especially on third downs though. yeah.
Next, we'll go to Dave Kiefer.
Yeah, hi, how's it going? I just wanted to ask about the Oregon game last year, and just was that game memorable for you in a way that maybe proved to yourself that you could play at this level, not just play, but you can excel at this level? And how big was that significantly for you, that particular game?
Yeah, last year that game was huge for my confidence, and that was actually my first play in. When I got that interception, was my first play playing a defensive snap since my senior year in high school in 2016, and so it had been like over 4 years, because my freshman year I only played on special teams. So it had just been so long since I got some real defensive action, and so just going in there, making an impact right away, really boosted my confidence for that season and carrying over into this season as well. But yeah, I think you're exactly right about that. Just like, yeah, it was more for myself to know, like, even though I've been like out of commission for a few years, I'm still here, and I can still get the job done.
Next, we'll go to Troy Clarity.
Hey, Levani, from an inside linebacker standpoint, what are some of the things on your guys' plate when you're facing particularly a run scheme like Oregon has?
Yeah, good question. Oregon has just from the film we've watched the past few days already, solid O-line, two really productive running backs that can get the job done. Doesn't matter their size, they can still tilt the rock. And so I think for a big emphasis for the inside linebackers, just being more physical when we strike, and just more consistent, having that gap integrity, knowing our job, making sure, I know that our D line can do their job, so I don't need to worry about getting up in their gap. I need to stay in my gap, things like that. So just just playing it honest, and just going hard every play for sure.
Next, we'll go to Daniel.
Hey, Levani, like's been said, last year at Oregon was kind of a breakout game for you. Any thoughts on how you've developed since, and how you feel you've progressed as a player from then to now?
Yeah. So since then, as a player, I just feel like I've just got to know the playbook way better, especially having another full spring ball under my belt. Just things with the playbook, really understanding everyone's concepts. I feel like last year at Oregon, when I'd see when the play would get called in, I knew my job, and that was about it. Like, I knew what I had to do on that play. But now when I see the call come in, I know what I got to do. I know what the stunt is, and so I know how to fit wherever, like on the stunt. I know that I got help from a corner or help from a safety, like just really understanding the big picture of the defense, and things like that has really helped me just progress as a player on defense, and just be able to play faster when I understand my job and understand what's going on around me. So I'm definitely a different player from last year's Oregon game.
Our next question will come from Jackson Moore.
A lot was made this offseason about the health of your teammates in your inside linebacker group. Just 4 games in, how do you feel you're all meshing together, and what you bring to the table for this defense?
Yeah. So we've had a great rotation with me, Ricky, Jacob, and Tristan, and that's different from last year. Last year was just me and Kurt. Everyone was injured, so just being able to play with different bodies. And I think the most important thing is it doesn't matter who's in. Like, I played with Ricky, Jacob, and Tristan. It's just up to Coach E who to put in at that time. But no matter who's in, we all play really well with each other. We all have great chemistry, and that wasn't overnight. That's all the time we spent together in the film room, and just all the reps we've been getting together, mixing and matching in practice. And so the depth has been great at ILB or at inside linebacker, and just going on in the season, we're looking to just stay healthy and yeah, keep keeping up that high chemistry with each other. So yeah, it's been good to have multiple bodies there at inside backer.
Next, we'll go back to Ben Parker.
Yeah, obviously, Oregon's a Big Ten program, and all that, but any kind of, and they're Pac-12 North rival, have been that for a long time for you guys, but any kind of extra hype or emphasis on this one, knowing they're coming in undefeated and top 5 in the country, and just any kind of additional kind of hype around the game because is that something you're talking about? The fact that they're coming in ranked so high.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, we know they're a great team, number 3 in the country. So, and they're also our first Pac-12 North opponent we've seen so far this year. So, definitely, we know it's a big game. It's a great opportunity for us to really execute and just show what we're all about. And so, I think as far as like really getting caught up in their high ranking and whatever, I don't think we haven't paid much attention to that, I feel, but just realizing that it's a big opportunity and it's going to be a good game to come out there and get a win.
We'll go back to Dave Kiefer.
Yeah, Levani, I want to ask you about, I don't know if you play rugby, but I wanted to ask you about your mission in New Zealand. Obviously, the All Blacks are huge. Were you a rugby player? How much did you enjoy maybe having the chance to either watch them or whatever? And could you, if you are into rugby, could you incorporate any of, say, the stuff that you saw or that you learned into your own game?
Yeah. Growing up, I never like actually played much myself. My family's big rugby sevens fans, especially we cheer for Fiji because that's what my dad's Fijian. But yeah, we watched a lot of rugby sevens, but being in New Zealand where American football is pretty much non-existent and it's all rugby everywhere. Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't hard to just like start getting into rugby and play touch rugby every week. And so it's like obviously a fast game, but I think a big thing in rugby is that they tackle really safe. And that's something that I've noticed and I've tried to incorporate into my game, just like not leading with your head and, how they like gator roll and things like that. That's something in rugby that, I feel like a lot of people in football should really be trying to incorporate more, is just that safe tackling. I think that's a big thing.
Do we have any final questions for Levani? Okay, thank you very much, Levani.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be joined by Tucker Fisk here in just a moment. We're now joined by Stanford tight end and defensive end Tucker Fisk, who will roll straight into the Q&A portion of today's press conference. If you would like to ask a question, Tucker, please use the raise hand function. As a reminder to please leave your lines muted until called upon to ask a question. Our first question will come from Troy Clarity.
Hey, Tucker, how would you sum up how the mood has been amongst the team so far this week in preparation for this week against the Ducks?
Yeah, I would say driven is probably a good word for it. I think, the loss on Saturday really hit hard for a lot of guys on the team. And I think we all know that we are better than what we put on tape and we can be a lot better as a team. So I think, we're just motivated to and excited to show what we can do against a top-rated team like Oregon this week.
We'll go to Daniel Shengpei Wu now.
Hey, Tucker. Obviously, really tough circumstances before the game you guys played against Oregon last year with finding out that Davis Mills is going to be unavailable really soon after for something that we all learned later was, a false positive test. What was that like finding that out all of a sudden? And is there any sense in the locker room that you guys kind of want a rematch on better terms this year with more solid preparation and less surprises just before the game?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, last year when that happened, it was kind of a shock to a lot of guys. I don't think I found out until I came back in after pregame warmups that Davis wasn't playing. So it was just kind of a somewhat debasing in a way. But I think this year, I don't know how much of a bearing that has on what we think about for this year. Obviously you want to win against teams that you lost to the year prior, but I think more than anything, it's just about winning the next game and being 1-0 every week.
Well, I'll go to Dave Kiefer.
Yeah, hi Tucker. Could you just describe the transition to defense? Was it your idea? Was it their idea? And then just the possibility of being able to play both offense and defense, how that all kind of came about?
Yeah, so I think it was kind of my idea, but I think they'd been thinking about it too. I mean, when I first came to Stanford, there were rumors that I'd heard that people were thinking about moving me to D-line anyway. So the thought wasn't like a new idea. And I played D-line in high school. But as far as the transition went, it was just, there was obviously a little bit of a learning curve. But I've also played against D-linemen for 4 years now already. So I'm familiar with how it goes. So I don't think it was as hard of a learning curve just based on the experience going against. But yeah.
Next, we'll go to Ben Parker.
Yeah, hi Tucker. You're kind of in a unique position that you play both offense and defense. So you can kind of give us a window into both the Ducks offense and defense since you play both sides. Just kind of what's your take on their offense and what do you do effectively as a D lineman against them? And then when you do come in as a tight end, what's going to be kind of the key to going against their defense?
Yeah. So I guess for their offense, I think at least from the D-line perspective, I think if we just can stay, gap sound, really win our one-on-one matchups and make sure that we're, holding our gaps and things like that, we should be good. That's any week you play defense. And then offensively, for their defense, they're a pretty good front. They have some pretty good D linemen, some pretty good linebackers. So, we got to be ready to bring it because they're going to bring it. I think for me, I'm just kind of expecting a physical game overall. You got to be ready to meet that challenge.
We'll go to Jackson Moore next.
What does a week of preparation look like for you? Is there enough time to be in all the meeting rooms? And is it a difficult challenge to learn 2 game plans?
Yeah, it's not difficult is maybe not a word I would use, but it's a lot is probably a better way to say it. For the most part, I spend my time with the D line because it's, a much newer position to me. I'm not as familiar with the way that game plans go and the types of adjustments that, you make. But offensively, I'll practice a couple days on offense, or I'll they'll bring me over for a couple team periods here and there. But for the most part, I don't really meet. I'm just given the game plan, and I talk to Coach Turner for a few minutes every day, trying to figure out exactly and just talking about what they do, things that happened last year, or years prior in general. Yeah, so most of my time is spent with the D-line, but I think just the experience on offense makes it a little bit easier to at least knock out the offensive game plan every week.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, once again, I'm leveraging your inside knowledge as both an offensive and defensive player, which is dope. Tana Mckee, what have you seen from him from a defensive line perspective? What makes him hard to kind of stop and contain? And then as a tight end, what do you see from him and what makes him an effective quarterback from that perspective?
Obviously he's been throwing the ball while he's been slinging it, which is exciting to see. I think as a tight end, like I know Dana throws a good ball. It's often right on the spot, right on the money, and so it's easy to catch. From a D-line perspective, like, I mean, he's never live in practice, right? So I don't really get to feel all this, but it seems to me like he moves around the pocket well and can, keeps his eyes downfield, is ready to make throws, even with pressure in his face. So definitely some good things from both perspectives.
Do we have any more questions for Tucker? Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, Tucker, just your thoughts on, I just want to hear, about Jurasik, how Ben looks, and also Booker playing alongside Thomas. Just curious about your impressions of both and their potential.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with Ben. I think Ben has the chance to be really, really good. I mean, he's fast, he's good hands, he can block well. I really think he's truly like the full package in terms of tight end. And I really expect him to. I'm waiting for him to just explode on one of these games so everyone else can see how good he is and how good he can be. And then I guess with Thomas Booker, he's been a huge help for me on defense. Like he's really helped me like learn the playbook, and I bounce ideas off of him and can ask questions, which is super helpful. And obviously, like, he's a beast out there. He's making crazy. I think he had like 10 tackles, 1.5 sacks last game, which is crazy. So it's obviously it's just nice to have like a guy like that in the room who you can watch and kind of learn from, both from talking and just from watching the film.
Any final questions for Tucker? Okay, thank you very much, Tucker.